terrible. We had someone in this room, folks on Zoom, their phone went off during meditation. Boy, they're in big trouble now, whoever they are. So, what a great opportunity, though, right? Something happens.
Well, it's either creditors or a client begging for money. So.
People to talk to, but that sound happened, and you guys are probably only present moment, but I did this whole string of thinking, and then I was like, wait, is my phone ringer off? And I was like, and then I remember that even when my phone's on Do Not Disturb, my sons can text me and it goes right through, and I'm like, and like 30 seconds later, I'm like, wait a minute, what? Oh, the breath. So, yes, sir.
This may be a bigger conversation, but you've talked about in the past where if you're doing a longer meditation and then and for whatever reason you just can't get back to not, to stop. Is there ever any benefit in pushing through that to try and come out the other side, or is it always just if it's not working, it's not going to work?
More specifically, so let me see if I understand. So if you're having a longer sit and you just can't seem to
just to find it.
To actually whatever that is, to get there, to show up. Is there any benefit to just white knuckling it, and pushing through, or just drop it? Right. That's a great question. I've had teachers. Right now, I have teachers. I have one teacher who would say, "What do you got to lose? Stick it out. You got anything better to do? Just sit there." And maybe the resistance, and what a great opportunity to look at my own resistance and preference. I want my sit to be like this, and peaceful and happy like it was the last time, not like this. Oh yeah, what's this? Well, it's not like that. And then I have another teacher who will say if it's not happening, go do something else. Take a walk, have a cup of tea, go wash some dishes. Don't start to relate to your practice in a way that involves force and coercion and struggle. So I guess you let me know, and you let me know, and then I'll tell which one of my teachers are wrong. But I do both for sure. Yeah, great question.
Okay. What exactly do you mean?
I think what I meant, so it's generally easier to just pick one hole to breathe out of and stick with it. So if your nose is clear, just stick with your nose. If your nose isn't clear, which often happens to me, I'm like, which is just the way it is that day. You got to breathe. But for some reason, what I wanted to relate is, because I say, I took a breath, right? So that's a breath, and that's a breath. But what I wanted to kind of relate was the in and the out is one cycle. And for some reason you got to excuse me, this is when I have a poetic moment for myself. And I was imagining, you've seen the Enzo symbol, the circle that they draw in Zen. And I was just imagining a breath like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So and also in the breath meditation, when you start to, if you start to do counting the breath, if you start trying to train your attention in a more kind of robust way, very often the practice will be to notice the feeling of the inhale and to notice the feeling of the exhale, and then at the end of the exhale, count 1. And then same thing, count 2. So even though physiologically it's more like and that's 1, something about it was feeling like a wheel to me.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
What if I come back?
Oh, I like that. So as you relax and you take deeper and deeper breaths, you're making this ripple wider. Oh, that's cool.
And I thought if I was a spiral galaxy or a spiral, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, that's the great thing about, we're still working on what it means, but, that's one of the great things about quantum physics is, some eggheads in the 40s were like, hey, I've just noticed that there's no way to differentiate between this hydrogen star in this faraway galaxy and you. We're all one piece. And there's no scientifically cohesive way to draw a hard line between the atoms that are in your body and the atoms that are, making up some distant star.
I thought of that too, like every breath you take.
Very cool. Breathing like a jellyfish as it swims. Like, there's all these great, one of the things Ajahn Chah used to say all the time was, nature is constantly trying to teach us, but we don't understand, so then we have to go to some human teacher. And he was talking about himself. And you can imagine how many students he had that just, like me, can't quite get it. So, everything around you is teaching you. And so, the thinking of the way everything in nature is pulsation. Thinking about, the way a jellyfish swims. Thinking about, the way the trees sway in the wind. All these things are offering themselves as suitable objects of contemplation for you. And you can, bring them into your practice and find a way that's skillful to be like, I remember when I was 8 years old and I was riding my bike down that big hill and that freedom I felt. And you're like, there we go. The Buddha calls this gladdening the heart. Thinking of a memory or even a way, like you were talking of, you're making a thought, but it's wholesome and pleasing and brings light and gladness to your heart. So, this is a good way to kind of set yourself up in a good way for your practice when you're sitting. Because, you don't always want to sit having just been, yelled at by your boss and this is a perfect time to sit and feel my breath. Whatever's going on, set yourself up for success in a good way. All right. Have good sounds. Yes?
So is that a goal in some?
So for the folks on Zoom, I'm paraphrasing, but one of our Sangha said that they read something about seeing light in meditation, and is that a goal or is that something to be expected? And 100%, I don't like to talk about goals, but lights happen, and it's literally every meditation tradition on the planet, no matter what religion it comes from, has some kind of language about feeling the body is weightless, feeling like you're flying through space, feeling like you've become infinitely small, feeling like you've become infinitely large, and dissolving into light or seeing lights. These are really common neurological phenomena for meditation practice. And some of them have really interesting possible physiological reasons behind them. Some Buddhist practice, they call it nimitta, means sign. So you saw nimitta, you saw some kind of light. And yes, I totally have seen lights. The vast majority of the weird phenomena, not the good stuff that makes me a really nice person all the time, but I've seen all kinds of weird phenomena, and it's weird seeing a phenomenon that you've read in a book for 40 years, and you're like, oh, that was far out. So yeah, but the constant instruction for any kind of, let's say, spooky phenomena is keep going. So there's a common story that it is not a quote, but I have heard this exact conversation go down where someone says, I had this incredible experience where I saw my whole being split open with light and I was one with the universe, and the teacher said, it'll pass, keep going. So any kind of blissful experience, keep going. Any kind of terrible experience, if you haven't sat on the cushion and felt bone-shaking rage or terror or jealousy or sadness, Ajahn Chah used to always say, if you haven't wept on the cushion, you haven't begun the path. So, this, whatever needs to come out will come out if you give it room. So yes.
Is it better if
In my official teaching position, as my official role here as teacher at Long Beach Meditation, I have no idea what you're talking about. Boy, I can only imagine. I have no idea what that means, but great question, thank you. The question was plant medicine. Can meditation be assisted with plant medicine? I of course, have no idea. That sounds illegal. I don't know what that is. So, all right. You guys, I swear you're going to get me in trouble. All right. Okay. Last, super brief, go. Generally speaking, the question is about gazing as an assist to practice focusing your gaze. There are traditions from the Yoga Vedanta, very common in Tantra, called Trataka, where you actually train your gaze and fixate on an image or a candle flame or something. And that also is practiced by some as a concentration practice in Buddhism. And then in some forms of Zen, they sit with their eyes open in an unfocused way. It's nice to sit with your eyes open because you're less likely to fall asleep. And if you sat on retreat with me or sat long enough with me, you'll see me doing this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I know it's weird, but it helps me not fall asleep. And then in the Dzogchen tradition, we do what's called sky gazing, where you actually go outside and learn to unfocus our eyes and look at the sky as a kind of real, strong analog to the way awareness actually is. We talk all day long, all of us in the Buddhist world, about how the mind is like the sky and the clouds just come and go. So lots of traditions have some part of that. But the vast majority, the kind of baseline instruction is either close your eyes, leave them open, but either way, soft gaze. Because generally speaking, when you focus the gaze, either with your eyes closed or open, you're actually, there's like an attentional thing you're doing where you're kind of like, focus gaze is when a predator is after you or where there's something you need. And if you can soften your gaze, then you're actually telling your brain, chill. So, okay, no more. We got to do